not compare our virtual classes with the physical classes because it speaks volumes. Despite, due to these issues and problems of our COVID-19, we didn't have any alternative to go online. And we have to understand the effectiveness. That is the reason we are hosting this program today. Hope this program will be an eye opener and very experienced speaker. Professor Dr. Chitra Ravi is there with us. She will definitely portray her skills and let us understand from her and make this session more successful and in a very grand manner. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I request our Director Academic, Dr. Purushottam B, to address the participant.
Just carry on, carry on.
In his absence, I'll request our beloved Principal, Sir, Dr. Nagesh Rao, to share few words about the session.
Respected Dr. Purushottam Sir, in his absence, respected Dr. R. Chandramurthy Sir, and today's speaker, Dr. Chitra Ravi. Welcome for this webinar session. Webinar on impact of virtual learning environment and effectiveness. In fact, East West College of Management is a unit of East West Group of Institutions established during 1998 with offering of UG and PG courses in BBA, BCA, BCom and BVA. Also in PG courses MBA, MCom and MCA affiliated to Bangalore University, catering to the need of more than 1,200 students today. We also offer value-added certificate courses in cloud computing, aviation, logistics, and foreign language. This institution puts up 20 acres lush green campus, giving education to more than 10,000 students every year. That is engineering, pharmaceuticals, nursing, BSc, and polytechnic, etc. We also conduct extracurricular activities such as sports, culture, which depicts our Indian arts and Indian culture. We are conducting here in our campus. Also, we are conducting every month. We are conducting our under this calendar of events. We are conducting an expert talk on the subject which is required for today's students. With this, I am end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request my colleague, Mr. Shailesh Prasad, Assistant Professor, to introduce our today's resource.
Good morning. Dr. Chitra Ravi is currently HOD, Department of Computer Science, Maharani Lakshmi Ambani College for Women's Autonomous, Malleshwaram, Bangalore. She has done BE,
YouTube link
MPhil and PhD in Computer Science and Information Science from VTU Belgaum. She has a total teaching experience of 30 years. She has published about 4 research papers in national and international conference and 4 research papers in international journals. She has authored about 20 textbooks in computer science for PUC, BSc, BCA and BE. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For participants, here we have an information. If you have any questions during presentation, please type them into the question box. We will also have the time for question. Now it's time. Without further ado, we will turn the time over to Dr. Chitra Ravi, our presenter today. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello,
Good morning, ma'am.
good morning. I'm not able to share my screen. So please try host
Okay.
disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, we will. 1 minute, ma'am. We will
Yeah, sure.
manage it. Hello.
Yes,
Ma'am, you
I'm
can
trying.
share your slide, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm trying to share. Are you able to see it? Hello.
Yeah, ma'am, we can see. Yes.
Okay, shall I start now?
Yeah, ma'am, you can.
Good morning, all of you who have joined in here for this webinar on impact of virtual learning environment and effectiveness. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the principal and the management of East West College and Professor Nagaveni for organizing this event. Now, actually, this is the order of the day that in this COVID-19 situation, we need to change our teaching and learning strategies from the traditional way of doing things. So here, first of all, I would like to specify a quote. The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. And the willingness to learn is a choice, and we all have to make a choice to learn. Now, first of all, why we need to upskill ourselves to change the teaching strategies is because we will be handling the generation of learners, which is say Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Those who are born between 1995 and 2009 are Gen Z, and those who are born between 2010 and 2024, whom we'll be dealing with in the future, they belong to Gen Alpha. If you look at the qualities there, the leadership style, these are empowering, but whereas the next generation is going to be inspiring, then these are going to be the collaborators, that is the Gen Z, and these will be co-creators. And what we figure out here is that we are going more towards the virtual medium. We are using artificial intelligence and machine learning, and hence we are going towards chatbots, and things are going to be not like the digital marketing, but real-time marketing. And the technology usage is now moving towards autonomous vehicles and smart devices. We also have to take into consideration the various types of learners, because we cannot cater to one type of teaching strategy for one type of learner only. Among students, we will find various types of learners. We have to identify that. They could be visual learners, who can learn through videos, images, and demonstrations, or auditory learners who can learn through the audio books or the recorded lectures and so on. And also we have rewrite learners, who are the traditional type, who could read from the textbooks and make notes and such kind. And also the kinesthetic learners, who can understand concepts better if they involve themselves in hands-on activity, then trial and error methods and problem solving and so on. So we need to design our content and have teaching strategy which involves methods that could cater to all these types of learners. Now, we all know this, that Bloom's taxonomy is very, very important, because it's a model used to classify the educational learning objectives into different levels of complexity and specificity. Now, when we say the learning objectives, they are in the areas of, or the domains of, cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. So when we say cognitive, it is to understand with the brain. If it is affective, it means relating to the interest that the student has, the attitude, the passion, the values, and so on. And if it is psychomotor, that it is including the physical movement, the coordination, and the use of the motor skill areas. So we find that we have a pyramid here from the lower level to the higher level, which goes from remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So we can call this framework has 6 major categories: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, evaluation, and synthesis. It's very important for us to understand this for our teaching strategies. Now, if you look at this learning pyramid here, there is a difference between the passive teaching methods that we follow generally and the participatory teaching methods that we can adapt in our teaching strategies. If you look at this, what percentage that is indicated here is about the knowledge retention rates. Now, when you do a lecture, the knowledge that is retained by the student is only 5%. And if it is through reading, it's 10%. Through audio-visual aids, it is 20%. And as we move further towards the participatory teaching methods like demonstration, discussion, practice doing, teaching others, and so on, we find that the knowledge retention rates are much, much better. And so we need to adapt these in our learning teaching strategies. Now, this is from the University of Michigan, where they have listed out various active learning strategies from simple to the complex. Now, some of them which we can take a reference from here and we can adopt with what works best in our current scenario may be group discussions, case studies, role play, hands-on, self-assessment, peer review, inquiry learning, and experiential learning. So we can try to adapt at least some of them into our strategies. Now, what is inquiry-based learning? It's a form of active learning that starts by posing questions, problems, or scenarios. And experiential learning is a process through which students develop knowledge, skills, and values from the direct experiences outside our traditional classroom setting. So it can include, like, for example, internships, service learning, undergraduate research. So you find that now PG students and even UG students are encouraged to take up research work, and then study abroad exchange programs and creative and professional work experiences. Now, these are many here, but we can adopt what we want to have. Now, whenever we look at the different types of learners, we have to choose the right training method for them. I have just listed some of them here, like for the auditory learners, experiential learning, lectures, group discussions, recording sessions, work. Whereas for the visual learners, graphics, animation, all these are much better. For the read-write general learners, you can have experiential learning, read-write material, and then lectures, and give them for follow-up worksheets, which they can complete and then submit. And kinesthetic learners are generally hands-on kind of thing. So you can arrange for role play and so on. Now, what we look at this diagram is, it gives the relationship between the types of learning based on complexity of the technology. You can see along the y-axis, lower side is the lower technology and higher side is the use of higher technology, higher level of technology. And if you see along the x-axis, you have it moving from the right to the left, from the student-centric to the teacher-centric. Earlier, we used to have only teacher-centric methods where we had direct instruction led by the teacher in the class, and then giving some hands-on experiences using the kinesthetic learning. But now we have to move towards student-centricity. So we can have these kind of different things placed in the 4 quadrants. If you observe in the first quadrant on the left down, direct instruction and kinesthetic learning, they are low-tech and teacher-centered. In the second quadrant on the right down, we have flipped learning, above, flipped learning and classroom, which is high-tech and teacher-centered. Now, since we have to move towards the student-centric, if you observe with the low-tech, it is differentiated learning or the blended learning, what we call, which is a combination of online learning as well as traditional classroom learning. And then expeditionary learning. I will tell you what it is. And the effective teaching that involves providing all students within their diverse classroom community of learners. Now, it will provide a range of different avenues for understanding new information in terms of acquiring the content, the processing, the construction, that is creating new ideas or making sense of already whatever ideas are there. And then we can develop teaching materials and assessment measures so that all students within a classroom will be able to learn effectively regardless of the socio-economic differences in their grasping abilities and so on. So teachers can set different expectations for the tasks that have to be completed by the students, specifically base them upon the individual needs. Like, for example, the urban students and the rural students, you can change the level of expectations. The students learn by conducting learning expeditions rather than sitting in a classroom being taught just one subject at a time. Now, what we mean in the top right quadrant, we have inquiry-based learning, game-based learning, and personalized learning. That is what is very, very important in the current scenario, and that is student-centric as well as using high technology. Inquiry-based learning is an approach to learn that emphasizes the student's role in the learning process. That means students are given importance, and that's why it is student-centric. It's a form of active learning that starts by first posing questions, problems, or scenarios. Now, what we mean by game-based learning, it involves designing learning activities so that game characteristics and game principles are there within the learning activities. So you build in these game components into the activities. For example, in an economics course, the students might compete in a virtual stock trading competition. In a political science course, students might role play as they engage in the mock negotiations involving a labor dispute. Likewise, we can think of various examples in the science streams and the commerce streams also. Now, personalized learning, when we say, it refers to the customization. That means when we build our course content to be delivered on a virtual learning environment, we can build it by considering the pace of learning of the students, and we can also optimize it for the needs of each learner. So we have to be very clear with our learning objectives, the instructional approaches, the methodology, the instructional content, the organized manner, that is in what sequence it has to follow. They all have to be based on the various types of learners' needs. In addition, the learning activity should be available that should be meaningful and also very relevant to the learner so that he will be interested to learn. And also it's very important in the virtual learning environment that the students or the learners should be highly motivated themselves, because there's no teacher there to keep motivating in the classroom. So they have to be highly motivated, and high self-discipline is very important in order to complete the course in the stipulated duration. So flipped classroom, what is here, it raises just the students' level of engagement. So what happens here is before class, in class, and after class activities happen in a flipped classroom, whereas in a traditional classroom, all activities are based only within the classroom. Now, what should the student do before the classroom? Students should prepare to participate in the class activities. So what should the teachers do for that? Teachers should provide the material in the form of lectures with videos and presentations before itself to the student. So the student prepares at home and then comes into the class. And in the class, they have to practice applying the key concepts with the feedbacks in the form of discussions and explorations of the subject. So here students can discuss among themselves, as well as they can have a one-to-one discussion with the teacher also within the class. Now, after the class, they have to check their understanding, and then they have to extend their learning. So what happens with the flipped classroom is the student will have wholesome learning, will be able to do self-study to a certain extent, will be able to absorb the knowledge from there, and then participate in discussions in which improves their communication skills and their inquiry based knowledge. And also after class they can extend their learning, and for that the teachers can devise a number of activities in the form of quiz, crossword puzzle, filling in the gaps, match the following, and game-based activities that will definitely improve the student engagement, because it becomes very interesting and it is not so monotonous. In the earlier generations, we had the patience and we had the discipline to sit in the classroom. But with the current scenario, the students are very active, and so we cannot provide them monotonous training. We need to keep them engaged effectively by understanding that their span of attention is not going to be more than 10 to 15 minutes. Now, so we have to do the flipped classroom, which means when we compare the flipped classroom with the traditional learning, what we can find is there are a lot of differences. What could be the differences? So we can see here, in the traditional classroom, the teacher will be lecturing for the students. The students will just passively listen. You can see this diagram. The homework will be read and write certain answers, or write an assignment where you write an essay about a particular topic and so on. And then the students will go into the classroom being unprepared. Whereas in a flipped classroom, we observe that the teacher involves in the discussions with students. The students will also discuss with their peers. The homework will be to watch the videos online and then explore more about the subject, because with Google, with the World Wide Web, we have so much of resources available. And so we can Google and we can find. So the students can be encouraged and facilitated to explore more about the subject. The students will have to come prepared to the class with some basic knowledge, so that they will be able to pose questions or raise issues or problems in the class. So this kind of learning is much more effective than the traditional classroom. Now, when we come to the blended learning, of course, as the sir rightly pointed out, that only virtual learning is not very effective. It is having its own share of advantages as well as disadvantages. So what we need to do is we need to have blended learning, where we have a combination of online learning as well as classroom learning. Now, blended learning is an approach to education that combines the online educational materials and opportunities for interactive online sessions with traditional classroom-based methods. So it also requires the physical presence of the teacher and the student, with some elements of the student's control over time, place, path, or pace. So now this is also known as hybrid learning. Blended learning is sometimes also known as hybrid learning, and also it's known as differentiated instruction. It offers flexibility for teachers in how they present the material. And there are so many online software tools that are available for the teachers to develop their course content in the most best possible manner. And for students, you can vary the pace depending on their absorption capabilities. It can be self-paced, and variety of learning approaches they can experience. The effectiveness, the teacher empowerment, the student engagement, and differentiation. These are all the advantages of blended learning. Now, blended learning will consist of the teacher-led small group of instruction. So it's a combination of many things. Collaborative learning in small group discussions or peer reviews or project discussions. And then individual learning, sometimes you want your me time, which is to absorb whatever you have learned, to introspect and to come up with your own ideas and so on. And then, so you can also have the personalized online learning where it can be self-paced, you can take it anytime, and you can take it from anywhere through any device also. So blended learning has so many advantages because it's a hybrid learning. So all the advantages of various aspects can be harnessed in the blended learning. Now let me tell you about the online education. We all know the traditional classroom methods that we have been following for the years. And now when we come to the online education, I just want to tell you that we have to be clear on certain things before we provide the online education. What is that? Now, online education is learning that relies on the internet for teacher or student interaction and the distribution of class materials. There are infinite number of ways to teach and learn outside the traditional classroom and also away from the college campuses. So you can include audio, video, text, animation, virtual training environments, live chats, and so on. It's a very rich learning environment. There's so much of flexibility. And when you use it to the full potential, it is more effective than simply face-to-face instruction. You can make it. It's up in our hands how we make it or break it. It can be made very engaging, fun filled, and tailored to fit almost anyone's schedule. So, initially, a lot of time will be spent in designing the course content, in designing all these activities, and so on. But once it is done, it can be reused. It can always be reused. It can be updated. It can be modified. So, a lot of time can be saved. Now, this is also known as virtual learning, digital learning, or e-learning. The main points that we need to consider is we need to have our expectations very, very clear, the goals and the learning outcomes. If we are not clear on this, our online education goal or the purpose will be defeated. We have to have the concise instructions. We have to think through before we launch the online education. We have to do a lot of thinking. We have to have what is going to be our method of instruction, what will be the number of credits, what will be the course format, what is the intent, and so on. Then robust content we have to keep engaged, so which means we must make use of audio, standard based curriculum, and then at the correct academic level. It shouldn't be for a particular learner at a very high level or at a very substandard level, because very soon they can lose interest and you can lose the student engagement, and there's nobody to keep on pursuing like a teacher would do in a classroom for the slow learners or the less motivated ones, where we counsel them and bring them back. So that is not possible here so much. Not very effective. We can still communicate through mails, messaging, and things like that. But there's going to be a slight lack of the personal touch. Now, collaborative learning in the form of discussions and forums is a must because we are all social human beings and the learners will feel very, very disconnected. So if they are participating in discussion forums, they can participate and have discussions on their learning content with their peers, with their teachers, with the professionals who are experts in these areas across the globe who can join those discussion forums. Quality feedback in the form of posts and comments have to be entertained. Teachers have to take cognizance of this and will have to improvise on their teaching methodology, course content, and so on. So it's a very, very important aspect. And also, since it involves high level of ICT usage, that is the technology usage, guidance and support should be a part of this. So technical support is needed, online help is needed, Proper documentation has to be given for the new users also to be very comfortable with using this tool, whatever the tool could be. And so here, the key components are internet connectivity, the devices such as laptops, iPad, system or mobile, and very importantly, one software which is called the learning management system. Then the course materials in the form of various types, assignments and due dates. Whenever it is online and we are going to do assessment, it is going to be in the form of assignments or quiz or multiple choice questions and so on. And then it's very important for setting the due dates. So because it can be designed in a weekly format or it can be designed on a topic format, and then the grading can be done, the badges can be given, then competence can be recognized, and so on. Now let us quickly go through few points very briefly about the advantages and disadvantages. Now when I say advantages, cost effective, there's no travel cost involved, no investment on the infrastructure and no unnecessary expenses. Now when I say controlled intensity, the course can be designed to be simple, to be intermediary or complex to suit the needs of the audience. When I say easy attendance, it is location independent. Now, everybody can take the course from the comfort of their homes, even in locations where there are extreme weather conditions, very hot or snowing or whatever it could be. They can still take it from the comfort of their homes. They can lessen the demand on the limited campus infrastructure. Those institutions that have limited infrastructure can have maybe 50% of the traditional classroom and 25% of this flipped classrooms, none of the 25% of these online blended learning kind of things. The discussion forums help interact with people and experts across the globe. Flexibility, as I said, anytime, anywhere, any device, at one's own convenience. And self-paced, it's very, very important because many times the student community in the classroom, they are all of different levels of learning. So easily the ones who are slow learners get bored and they are not able to cope up. If they miss one or two lines, then they don't concentrate further. The fast learners, again, if you're medium paced, they get bored because they want to do something else. They just quickly finish their work and they get bored. So this can be self-paced. Learning can happen depending on the student's grasping ability and the time that they can dedicate. That is, say 2 hours per day or 1 hour per day or 4 hours per day. That all depends on the student, or this, it is student centric. Now, some more advantages like multiple choices. Now, with this online option available, there are various options and many times it becomes so confusing to pick up a course of your choice. There are many providers, Coursera, Udemy, and so on, many of them, many courses with different durations. So sometimes making decisions, choosing becomes a difficulty. Then peaceful environment. This peaceful environment, because you can concentrate better than in a noisy classroom environment. There won't be chaos, and sometimes it is useful, but many times also peers, being with the peers enhances your learning. Working professionals can take it at their convenient time. There's easy access to resources throughout, and you can take it from the digital libraries across the globe, from various universities. Then customization, course content can be developed based on the user needs, and better and unbiased assessment. So assessment here, once we'll be already setting the number of points or the number of marks so that we cannot go biased and then give the marks based on who the student is and so on, or it can't be influenced by the teacher student relationship. When we say disadvantages, as I said, too many choices for the same title, so many providers, choosing the best one is a challenge. Then lack of continuity, lacking self-discipline. Then sometimes we have some other priorities and we just push it to the back seat. We lack motivation sometimes. And then accreditation, quality check is, in terms of accreditation, is not very popular as yet, like how we have the NAC and NBA and things like that. We don't have that much. Of course, there's one or two bodies. Course modification, every now and then course content developers They have to modify based on the new educational requirements, techniques and technology, which is overwhelming. And the personal attention, students lack this. While in a classroom, the teacher plays a major role in keeping their emotional quotient very high, and tracking and monitoring progress of the tracking students is cumbersome. Monitoring involves continuous communication through messaging and emails. Now, practical knowledge, we know that such subjects like dentistry or scientific experimentation, it's very hard to do it through online education. There may be technical glitches like network issues, device failures, power outages, and so on that affects. Social interaction, because we are social human beings, that emotional connect will be lacking. The instructors, that is the teachers, they have to be upgrading always with the educational methodology improvements, then effective course content design and delivery, use of the assessment tools, because tools will keep changing now and then, grading, reporting, all these things, updating instructors. Then the digital divide, there's a very huge gap between the demographics and regions that have access to the modern technology and those that don't have any access to the technology, or some who have restricted access. So that is a real issue when we provide online education. You have to ensure that technology is sound. So, the phone connection or the television or personal computer or internet, any of those. Then skillful work can never be done virtually. That I'm very sure about that. Then the lower quality of communication, because it's not face to face. However, what we can do to make it more effective is that the teachers can get feedback in the online mode by giving a poll or a survey, the feedback submission and collecting them. However, this is not going to be as good as the teacher observing the expressions on the student's face when they understand a particular topic or not. But however, we can have polls and surveys, and we can, to some extent, get the feedback. Now, it demands high self-discipline, high level of motivation, so that they can complete the course in the stipulated time. Now, how do we make this online education effective? So we have to have some best practices. What we can do? We have to make effective use of the resources. So we have to make a choice of the various types of resources like video lectures, presentation, gamification, personalized or customized content based on the topic, and use the resources available in various digital libraries across the globe. We have to have clear expectations, as I told you. Why we need to have that? Only when the student knows what is the goal of my course, what are the activities, and are they aligning with the skills and the ideas that I have to master. The student has to be having trust on that. So we have to provide, what teachers have to do for that: provide a syllabus, explain the communication preferences, whether through chat or whether through the mail or through discussion forums or whatever it is. We have to publish our virtual working hours clearly, explain the grading policy. We have to set our grades, the formulae, all that. We have to explain the method of evaluation so that students are very clear about how they are going to be evaluated, because we need to have some kind of orientation. We may have knowledge on a particular topic, but when we have to present it, we have to understand what the observer or the teacher is going to expect. So for that, they should know the method of evaluation. We have to provide them the late assignment submission policy, and also we have to provide feedback. Now, the supportive community is very, very important, because the learning happens very effectively when you have communication between the peers. And real learning happens in spaces that promote discussion, reflection, collaborative teamwork. And in facilitating opportunities to learn, it's important to consider the social complexities of interactions. Now, collaborative learning. So we generally, we give students internships, projects, and so on. So that is one kind of collaborative learning. Now, it's very, very important in online education to have synchronous and asynchronous activities. All can't be done synchronously, all cannot be asynchronous. What we mean by this: synchronous learning is online or distance education that happens in real time. Like, for example, this video conferencing that is happening. Whereas asynchronous learning occurs through online channels without the real-time interaction. So hybrid learning models will have both of these. The asynchronous communication service could be like a file transfer or an email, all that. Synchronous communication service can be a real-time streaming media through IP telephony or the video conferencing and so on. So we know what is synchronous and what is asynchronous. Now, you can see that here synchronous learning, the group of students will engage in learning at the same time. You can conduct instant messaging, live chats, video conferencing for real-time learning. Whereas in asynchronous, student-centered learning method, they can use the online resources, but some other time, some other place. They can interact with the course management systems and communicate with emails, discussion forums, and so on. That doesn't happen real time. Now you can see the differences here, a lot of differences. In asynchronous, students can learn and review at their own pace, whereas in synchronous, they feel connected one another during the class. Here there's flexibility in different time zones. Their teachers will provide feedback and clarification. And here in asynchronous, teachers can include so many tools and give the feedback accordingly. In synchronous, students will follow along with the teacher because like a demo and you can just follow. Here in asynchronous, less chance for technical difficulties, whereas since it is real time and live, so synchronous, there may be problems with this and actual schedule also. Now, as I told you, there are various methods, but how do we ensure that students' engagement is highly impactful and effective? Now, very simple ways to engage and motivate the learners. You have to set clear learning goals. Learners will perform better when they know what exactly is expected of them. We can make learning convenient. We can get creative with the course content. We can devise meaningful activities. We can foster a sense of competence in them, healthy competition, embrace collaborative learning. We can reward the learners for engagement, like by giving them badges and so on. Create an open communication channel. So these are ways, simple ways to engage and motivate learners. So how do we generally do that? First and foremost, I would recommend that we have to prepare the students for the online learning because they have to paradigm shift from the traditional way of learning to the blended learning. And I would suggest that everyone goes through this video overview of Coursera MOOC, learning how to learn. Video is very nice, learning how to learn, YouTube video. Then you can also prepare the students as to how they have to learn and do assignments through video lectures, reading materials, then assessments in the form of quiz and peer assessments and discussion forums. Now, teachers have this responsibility that once we design the course, we cannot be at that. As we keep on moving towards the next generation of students, we have to keep reviewing our learning outcomes and we have to keep modifying and updating. We have to present clear, organized learning material. We have to build the learning community, and then we have to deliver the content in various formats so that all kinds of learners are included. So we have what is known as inclusivity. We cater to the needs of all types of learners. And the future of online learning, basically, these are very, very important. Personalized learning, that means you customize the learning for each student's strengths, needs, skills, and interests. Gamification, so you can integrate game elements like point systems, leaderboards, badges, and so on to the conventional learning activities. And that's how the students will get very motivated. And also, you can have, say, for example, I can say for this gamification, for a physics course, you can gamify it with a badge system where students might be awarded, say, a Galileo badge after 10 points, a Kepler badge after 20 points, an Einstein badge after 40 points, or something like that. It just keeps them motivated to try and learn the concepts and apply. So micro learning means it's a holistic approach for skill-based learning and education, which deals with very small learning units. That means sometimes there may be students who can't grasp the whole thing together. Then we subdivide it into some sub-tasks like that, sub-modules. And then we can present them in small durations, sub-modules, so that they will be able to learn better. So those who have a very short span of attention, they can focus on this so that they can learn better. Now we concentrate on the software environment, that is the virtual learning environment. So every institution in this world is trying to adopt a proper learning management system with the different challenges in education among institutions, and also with the availability of large number of e-learning solutions. It is a great challenge for the institutions to decide on choosing the best learning management system that works within the classroom as well as beyond the classroom. So we all know that the learning management system that will allow us for the administration, documentation, tracking, reporting, all the various training programs, the classroom and online events, e-learning programs, the content of whatever you're going to train, and so on. Now, what we see here is we can have the virtual learning environment where we have certain tools. Those are designed to enhance the students' learning experience basically. And how that happens is online. So which means with the help of internet and the various software we can do. What all it will allow us to do? Curriculum mapping, breaking the curriculum into sections, online support, electronic communication, and the internet links. Many times we may not develop certain material. We can reuse from what is available outside also. But these platforms should be able to provide us links to use those resources that are available outside what we have developed. So now generally, whenever it is any such tool, you can have a teacher ID as well as a student ID, because the view from the teacher is different from the view from the student. Now the teacher will also be able to view whatever the student views, but also he will have additional user rights to create or modify the curriculum content and track the student performance. So as I said again, these must have internet assessment tools, messaging and communication, uploading the content, that is the resources, discussion forums, peer assessment, grading, questionnaire, tracking, all these. What I'm going to discuss briefly here is about the Google Classroom, which is very, very well known, open source, and the Moodle learning management system, which many universities and deemed universities use, and very, very useful one. There are many commercial software packages that are available. What we will concentrate today is on this. I'm just giving a brief introduction about these. The viewers who have joined in here are free to explore a lot of features that are available in this and design your own LMS. Now here, Google Classroom is a free web service. You can assign coursework and keep the study material organized. You can simplify creating, distributing, and grading assignments. You can streamline the process of sharing files between teachers and students. You can set deadlines, you can post and comment, and you can also facilitate the classroom discussions. It's a free web service, and anybody who has a Gmail account, it's very easy to use it. Now, Google Classroom online teaching and learning activities that we generally as teachers would like to perform is creating or joining a class. Teacher will create and the student will join the class. Then once we do that, we can add the resources to the Google Classroom in the form of PPTs, videos, and so on. Then the teacher can interact with the students through messages. Then once the learning is done, the teacher can post the assignment. Immediately it will be visible for the student, or he can also schedule it. He or she can schedule the assignment, which means it can be scheduled for a future date and time so that the student will be able to view it only at that point of time. So generally, when we did our internal tests, we made use of this Google Classroom and we scheduled it. If the timetable is such that on some date the test is at 11 a.m., you can schedule it. Then once we do that, the student completes the assignment, takes the pic and uploads that, or in the form of Word document or in the form of PDF, whatever they can upload it. And once they upload, it's not enough. They have to turn in. Only when they turn in, we will be able to assess their assignment or test or any of those. Then we have the Google Classroom settings, so we can use it to name the classroom, generate the code, give it to the students, whatever. We can do all kinds of settings there. The other important LMS, that's the learning management system that I talked about, is Moodle. It's an all-in-one learning platform, very, very comfortable, very useful. Single, robust, secure, and integrated system. There's a powerful set of learner-centric tools and collaborative learning environment and simple interface with the drag and drop features. It supports blended learning and online courses. You can devise your own course and launch your own course, and you can reuse it following year, next year, and so on. So this Moodle can be available in the institutional server. If it is downloaded and there's an admin who manages that, it's very, very useful. What I have done to do the trial is only I have created a Moodle Cloud account, and I have worked on that Moodle Cloud account to understand all these features. I will have a free account for a month or so trial version. So that is also possible for the learning purpose. But then the institution should have this. It's an open source software, free. So it can download in the institutional server. And then the admin should create users and courses and so on and give access. Then it's going to be very, very effective learning. Highly flexible and fully customizable. It is scalable to any size, robust, secure, and private. So the Moodle can be easily deployed on a private secure cloud or a server for the complete control. So definitely there will be, you may think that IPR, the intellectual property, is going to be compromised because it's going to be shared on the Moodle platform. In your institution also, measures can be taken by the admin to provide privacy and security. And if you're using the Moodle Cloud account also, you can have the settings such that it is secure and private. You can use it anytime, anywhere, and on any device. Then extensive resources are available for you to learn about Moodle. You have the Moodle documentation, you have user forums, you have free content and courses, and you have plugins for cross-platform things to be included here. And you have, it is backed by a very strong community of international community, team of dedicated developers, the network of certified Moodle partners who can help whenever there is any difficulty, and continuous work is going on with this Moodle platform. They are keeping on improving on this. Now, what we as teachers can do, the basic things I have listed here. There are so many features. To begin with, what we actually need to do is we can create the user in the Moodle LMS for us. We can create our course. We can add the topics to the course. Say, for example, I have 10 chapters. I can make them as different topics, the sub modules that are there. We can create them. Now, I as a teacher will have to enroll users, that is the students. Now, I can provide it in two ways, manual or self-enrollment. That means manual means I will keep on adding the user. One by one also I can add, otherwise I can have it in an Excel file and then I can update it. At once, all the users will be added. Or otherwise, you will see many times in BITS Pilani and things like that, the students have to enroll themselves for a certain course with a certain teacher and so on in the beginning of the semester. And foreign universities, they do that. So that is self-enrollment. So the students can enroll themselves for a particular course. Then if at all you're for a project, you have to be assessed, then you can form groups also. Then whenever you have any topic of the course that is there, you may want to add any activity to that topic, or you may want to add resources to the topic. Resources will be in the form of book or PDF or PPT or anything. Now activities, I have a listing, further coming slides, I will explain, because very, very interesting activities are there. So what I basically want to tell is we create a user in the Moodle LMS. So we get a account, so that we will be able to do, we will be the editing person, that is the admin rights we should have. So we can create the course, we can add topics to the course, we can enroll users or they can self-enroll. we can add the activity or the resource to the topics. And once it is done, once the learning is done, we should be able, once we add these activities may be in the form of quiz, multiple choice questions, or it could be in the form of short questions and so on. And so grading can be done. For grading also, we can set the rules of these. Then we can have users and courses. How it could be done, I've just told, so I can skip this. So we can build a course, weekly format or topic format, and then we can add the resources. But for all that, the editing should be possible. Okay, so these can be done. So we can add the activity to the course, as I said, assignment, chat, MCQ, database, feedback, forum, glossary, lesson, quiz, Scrum package, survey, wiki, so many are available. So we can do all those. So I've just given a list. Anyway, I'll be sharing this PPT. So you can have a look. Since we are running short of time, I'll just go through further all these activities. What it means is that then this survey is one very, very important one, because we need to have a survey for us to continuously improve and be effective in our teaching methodology. So it can be on the basis of relevance, the reflective thinking, interactivity, tutor support, how is it, peer support, interpretation. So you can see here some examples on the screen where you have some queries and then they're asked to fill in the survey and submit. But who can submit the survey? Not anybody. Only the enrolled users will be able to submit the survey, based on which we can improve. Now, how do we add a resource to the course? So various resources, as I said, book, file, folder, page, URL. You can give URL link to the YouTube. I said no, that for this LMS, you can make use of the resources that are available from outside also. So you can give the links from your desktop. If you have some resource, you can give a link to that. You can use YouTube video link. You can have any of the other IMS content package. When you say IMS is content packaging specification, that's another technical standards body, so that you can take your learning material from somewhere else also, from outside this platform also. Now, as I told, enrollment option, this is just a screenshot how users can be enrolled, manual enrollment, and then self-enrollment and so on. This is one sample Moodle course page that I had created from my account on data analytics. And there I have included announcement. I have included one introduction exercise, introduce yourself and list your hobbies and interests. Then I've given the timetable. Like this, I can include many things. Now, very, very important is what role we have. According to that, we have our permissions to do certain things. So when we click on switch role to, we can have manager, course creator, teacher, non-editing teacher, student, guest, authenticated user on front page, and so on. So different roles. Now, inside that Moodle platform, you sometimes want to beautify things. You want to arrange them properly. So you have something known as site administration here, the last option here. If you go there to the appearance section, you can explore more on that. So you can change color, logo, style, and everything is possible. Beautification is possible. Now, whenever we include the participants, you can see the list of participants. Here you can only see mine, the first name, email address, role, group, and last access to the course. So people who are in control of this will know when your student last accessed this material, when they last access this. So if you find that for a week or two, the student has not accessed, you can send a mail to them asking them what has happened. So you can monitor it using this. Then, as I told you, it's very important to have competency-based learning also, where badges can be awarded based on the criteria chosen by teacher. And then you can have expiry date or not. Then this is based on competencies for them to have a level of understanding or proficiency in the skills there. Now, my suggestion is whenever we have 1 hour's teaching or training, we must have advanced organizing, some only 10 to 12 minutes of lecture, because that is the attention span, 10 to 15 minutes. Then a small activity, again a lecture, again a small activity, again a lecture, and then finally summarize what has been done for that day. This is definitely an effective active learning strategy that I can suggest, and definitely it should work, because students will not go to sleep, will not be bored, and they have to be on their toes because it's a fun-filled activity that they will be doing, and they will be happy about it so that they can concentrate on the next 10 to 15 minutes. So how we can do, we have so many open source software tools. Hot Potatoes is one very interesting one. I just like this software so much. It's so easy to build. Activity based learning, fill in the blanks, match the following, crossword puzzle, mix up words and arrange, multiple choice, and so on. I'll just briefly show you the screenshots of that. It's very, very interesting. Anybody can easily design this. For the different units, you can design and keep. So there's an assignment here, which is fill in the blank. So the words that are in dark, that is HDFS is distributed. That is what I had filled up. Map reduce, I have filled up. Once I put the words, it automatically designs the crossword puzzle for me. And then I can play this puzzle. Then I can have match the following. Then it is very motivating when you find that your score is 100%, you have done very well, and things like that. When the students see, they find it very interesting, and you can save your time. These exercises they can do online later on. You don't have to waste your time in the classroom. Likewise, you can have here mixed up words or jumbled words, and if you put them correctly, you can do that. Then this masher is kind of, it puts everything on the same page. So from here directly one after the other, it forms a sequence of the individual exercise into one complete indexed unit. So all these can be done using what is known as Hot Potatoes. It's an open source, freely downloadable, and every one of you can easily try that. Then we have game-based learning like Kahoot. I don't know, some of you might have already used. Very, very simple. Jeopardy Labs and Socrative. So these can be used to create quiz. Kahoot, once quiz is created by the teacher, a pin will be generated that will have to be shared with the students. They can log in as a student and enter the pin and then start playing. Then Jeopardy Labs, game can be created with various number of rounds. Marks can be fixed for all your intercollegiate fests. You can easily use this. Marks can be fixed for each question, 10, 20, 50, 100, whatever. One or more teams can play. Scoreboard can be maintained by updating the score of each team and so on. Socrative code is generated once the quiz is created. You have to share that code, and there are different delivery methods to launch that quiz. In the teacher pays means only one question will come up. Once the all students answer and finish, then only the teacher will launch the second quiz and so on. Otherwise, instant feedback. The moment you answer, immediately you'll get the feedback, whether it is correct or not. Then open navigation. So these kind of things can be done. Then one more very important tool, and which I liked very much, is when you are teaching a whole topic, there are so many things. By the time you come to the end, they'll forget what has been done earlier and so on. So what you can do is you can give them a mind map. So looking at the students know in this unit or in this topic, what all I'm going to cover. The best part here is you can highlight with different colors. You can prioritize by giving numbers. You can also include PPT here itself. So when you click on types of analytics and I go and click there, I can have that slide. I can sources of big data. I have one image file. I can simply link that image file here. So the moment I click here, it will show me all those. So it is so interactive and so beautiful. Only thing is you have to put all this data properly indented in a text file. And then from there, it will get imported in this FreeMind. FreeMind is also an open source software. Then we are almost coming to the end. Interactive boards, we have so many. Two of them which are interesting, I found them interesting and I've used them, is OpenBoard and Jamboard. OpenBoard is open source cross-platform teaching software for interactive whiteboard, and it is primarily used for schools and universities. There are basic tools like line, eraser, stylus bar, advanced tools, backgrounds, sounds, videos, images, animations, applications, and so on. So you can see here that you can do open source cross-platform teaching software, which can connect even to web resources. You can have different backgrounds. You can even include applications like clock, images, everything on that board. And till you can do your work, you can have other things also on the same thing. You can connect to the web also directly. So it's a very interactive whiteboard. Then you have the Google Jamboard, which is simple and easily available. It's an interactive whiteboard. It will include pen, eraser, sticky note, can add images, can select. It has a laser pointer. You can even enter all mathematical formula, latex and all that. Has laser pointer. You can use to create new images, getting inputs from other links, docs, slides, like a poster you can make. You can clear the frame and you can use different backgrounds like a chalkboard is available. Now let us come to the summary of what we have done. Gen Z and Gen Alpha student learners can be visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic. Innovative teaching should be student-centric. For effectiveness of virtual learning, we need to adopt teaching strategies based on different types of learners, activities to improve their knowledge retention rates, adoption of right training method, use of technology, flipped classroom and online learning leading to blended learning. Learning management with activity-based learning, competence-based learning, game-based learning, mind mapping, and use of interactive tool systems can provide impactful student engagement. Online teaching and learning tools can be used to develop and share high-quality content. Now, tools enable increased pace accessibility. That means after class also, they can go anywhere, they can still use it. So pace increases, it fosters collaboration leading to quality learning. Teachers should enable students to be lifelong learners. They should be responsive to student feedback and adapt their teaching practice to suit the needs of all students. Institutions should validate and embrace the student voice, agency, and leadership. They should create good learning environment that promotes independence, interdependence, and self-motivation among students. And they should also build productive and inclusive culture for all teachers and students. And definitely the future will be very bright when we adopt all the changes and we are going to be teachers as well as students are going to be lifelong learners. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your knowledgeable session, ma'am. Now, anybody, if you want to ask any questions, you can ask now. Just raise your hands. If you want to ask the questions.
Anyone who wants to ask question can unmute yourself and ask. I think the chat, let me have a look at the chats.
Chat box.
Yeah, 1 second, sir. I'm going through the chat. Let me have a look if there are any questions. Okay, there is one question here from, yeah, how can a teacher be prepared and make students understand about expeditionary learning? So generally in the foreign universities, as I told you, they will take them outdoors a lot for learning. I think we also must have, for example, now only NSS does some kind of activities. So this is general. So for depending on the topic and the subject, the teachers have to find innovative methods for expeditionary learning. And it is possible actually. Maybe we can start slowly with very few activities. And as we also improve in our thought processes towards this paradigm shift, I think we will be able to devise more such learning exercises. I hope your question is answered. Now, Shilpi Dam has asked a question, how to keep students motivated during online classes. I think I have told you about the activity-based learning sessions where you can have lecturing for some time, then give a small activity and so on. Now, many of them take their laptops and have the presentations done. So I think you can keep them engaged with small, simple games, activities, and so on. They will definitely be motivated. I hope that question is answered. Somebody, Violet, thank you very much for your appreciation Veena Nagaraj, thank you very much. Okay, excellent webinar full of informative things. Bharti Rao, useful information on making online class interesting and creating activities. Shailaja, excellent presentation, ma'am. So thank you very much, all of you who have appreciated this. It's a small attempt from me, since I thought it's very, very important for all of us to move towards this now in this critical situation. Thank you very much, Rajesh sir. Infographics used in slides are very much easier to understand. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have got one question, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
The very purpose
Hello, sir.
is molding of personality. That's
Yes.
why college is the improvisation over from correspondence course, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, so the personality of the lecturers influences the students,
Yes.
right, and molds their character.
Correct.
Which is conspicuously absent in online classes.
Correct.
So what is your feedback about this?
Yes, sir. That is why I have been always telling that we have to go for blended learning. We have to go for blended learning. We have to harness the advantages of each type of learning and put all the advantages together. I have spoken about advantages of online education. I've spoken about disadvantages, and I've spoken about the best practices. And I've also spoken about, in our blended learning, we do have the traditional teacher-student relationship kind of a thing also. Only that is possible. And there are so many subjects, I told you, skill-oriented subjects, which can't be done virtually. Only there are certain things that can be done. So we have to adopt a hybrid learning methodology.
Ma'am, one last question from my side.
Yes,
most of the lectures, they are inclined towards online classes or real life classes? That's my last question.
Actually, the other teachers will have to answer this question. In my college, I can tell you with reference to my college, Maharani Lakshmi Ammani College for Women began our online classes training from March 19th itself. I think 16th or 17th we stopped going to college. So immediately we started, and by the end of April 30th, all of us completed our syllabus for the semester. We have taken 20 online classes and all that. Through Zoom platform, we also used Google Classroom. We created one FDP for our teachers as well as students. We have provided them the manual for them to get used to this. And second internal test was conducted for all classes through Google Classroom. Both types, sir, even essay type question writing, taking a picture and uploading, assignment, as well as MCQs and so on. So it is a process where management, faculty, students, all of them have to be trained first. And then we can effectively use this. And definitely many of you youngsters in this audience, many of these youngsters in the audience will also have very good ideas. And as you keep exploring more and more in the virtual learning environment, you will get many good ideas to improve. It is about how we apply our traditional knowledge in these areas by learning how to use the tools and which tool suits which one better. Also, we still are in the figuring out phase. We are not experts. So we can do it, sir. And I'm very positive about it.
Thank you, madam. It's
Yes, sir.
Amarnath from Baldwin College.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Definitely, I feel blended learning is going to be the future. Thank you, Anuradha ma'am from Indian Academy. Amar Ramachandra sir, I think I have answered your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Ranjana Kumari, thank you so much for your appreciation. Is there any free software available to implement game-based learning?
Thank you for your submission.
Yes. Yes, sir. Kahoot, Jeopardy Labs, and Socrative, those are free softwares only, sir. Whatever I have attended. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, exams also, I told you in the Moodle platform also, we have submitted assignments, questions, everything, and we have been graded. So it is possible. In Google Classroom also, it is possible. Of course, institutions can come up with paid versions of various other softwares that are available for conducting examinations in a more professional manner with face-to-face recognition, AI recognition, and so malpractices can be avoided. All these can still be done. Okay. Thank you, all of you. Thank you. Any more questions? I think it's done.
Okay. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for those who have
Thank you.
asked the questions for you. Clear. I think you cleared all the doubts, whatever they needed.
Yes.
Thank you for that, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Last but not least, now I call upon Mr. Dinesh and Professor to present vote of thanks.
On behalf of entire fraternity of EWCM, I
Data will
most
provide
thankful
Harvard University data, label data in great source.
a resounding success. With his blessings and grace, we are able to make this event a great success. On behalf of EWCM, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Chitta Ravi, HOD, Department of Computer Science. I extend my sincere thanks to our beloved academic, Dr. Purushottam, Director, Dr. R. Chandramurthy, backbone behind this success, and our cheerful principal, Dr. N.S. Nagesh Rao, and the big thanks to all the participants who joined the event and making a great success. Have a wonderful future ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your present with us today. Once again, I'll thank you for joining us today's webinar. Thank you all.